Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're diving into a fascinating story from the world of rare coins, specifically the 1976 1 cent, a seemingly ordinary coin that has captured the attention of collectors and investors around the globe, not just for its historical significance but for the extraordinary value it can fetch today, reaching mind-blowing figures like $44 million. And the reason for such an astronomical price is rooted deeply in the unique errors and mistakes that occurred during its minting process, a combination of factors that make it a holy grail for numismatists and coin enthusiasts alike. And to truly understand why this 1976 penny is worth such a staggering amount, we have to start with the context of its production in the United States Mint during a period that was both technologically evolving and highly experimental, as the mint was constantly adjusting dies, experimenting with metal compositions, and balancing mass production with quality control, which inevitably led to some coins being struck with imperfections that today are considered rare and extremely valuable. So let's first look at the specific errors associated with the 1976 1 cent. One of the most significant issues is the double die obverse error, a phenomenon where the die that stamps the coin's design is itself struck more than once, but slightly misaligned, resulting in doubling effects on key features such as the lettering, numbers in the date, or even subtle design elements on Lincoln's portrait. In the case of the 1976 penny, certain specimens exhibit doubling on the date and the word Liberty, making them instantly recognizable to experienced collectors and dramatically increasing their desirability. But the doubled die is just the tip of the iceberg, as there are also off-center strikes where the coin blank was misaligned in the press, causing the design to be partially cut off, which, while normally considered a minting flaw, in the case of rare pennies can elevate the coin's value exponentially, especially when only a handful of such off-center 1976 cents are known to exist in high grades. And then there are broad strikes, which occur when a coin is struck outside the collar, allowing it to expand freely under the press and creating a larger than normal diameter with smoothed edges. A rare occurrence for circulation coins, but one that collectors will pay a premium for when documented and graded properly, adding further layers to why some 1976 cents can command multi-million-dollar prices. And another factor contributing to the value is the composition and condition, as 1976 pennies were struck in the usual copper planchet, but those that survived in mint state with no wear, full luster, and perfect strike quality are extraordinarily scarce, given that most coins from general circulation suffered from heavy use over the decades. So a combination of perfect preservation and one of these rare minting errors creates a perfect storm for a high-value collectible. And beyond the physical errors, there is also the story of scarcity and provenance, because only a limited number of these error coins were produced or discovered, and when a coin passes through documented auctions with authenticated errors, it builds a pedigree that further increases its value. And this is especially true for the 1976 penny because collectors have meticulously tracked these coins over the years, noting which examples have been certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, and those with top-tier grades and confirmed errors can sell for millions, in some cases approaching the $44 million mark in private sales or highly competitive auctions, which is mind-boggling considering the face value of 1 cent, illustrating how historical context, minting mistakes, and collector demand intersect to create a near-mythical status for certain coins. And speaking of collector demand, part of what drives the extreme valuation is the story and the narrative around each coin, as each 1976 penny with a prominent error is a tangible piece of history that tells a story of human error, industrial processes, and the quirks of mass production in a pre-digital era, making it not just a coin but a narrative object that connects collectors to a moment in time. And another fascinating aspect is the economic principle of supply and demand at work here, because while millions of standard 1976 pennies exist, only a tiny fraction exhibit the rare errors, meaning that collectors are competing for a finite set of highly desirable specimens, driving prices to astronomical levels. and it's not only double dies or off-center strikes that matter, but also die cracks, die chips, and planchet errors, where the metal composition might have slight inconsistencies, air bubbles, or impurities, all of which can create unique visual effects that differentiate one coin from the rest and make it more collectible. And when you combine multiple error types on a single coin, such as a double die with a subtle die crack along the rim, or an off-center strike combined with a misaligned date, you create a coin of exceptional rarity and desirability, essentially a one-of-a-kind item that numismatists would consider priceless, except that market forces have given it a tangible dollar value, and historically, the 1976 penny has been especially interesting because it coincided with the United States bicentennial era, which increased public awareness and collection interest, as coins from that period were highly circulated, yet some managed to escape the presses with errors, making them even more exceptional given the heightened scrutiny of coinage at the time. And these bicentennial-related considerations add another layer to why collectors are willing to pay top dollar, as they are not just buying a coin but a symbolic artifact connected to a significant historical event. And when evaluating the possibilities that make a 1976 penny worth $44 million, it's also critical to consider grading and authentication, because without professional verification from services like NGC or PCGS, a coin's errors might go unrecognized or undervalued, and this is why provenance matters so much, as collectors are willing to invest millions only when they can trust that the coin is authentic, certified, and in its original condition, untouched by cleaning or other alterations, which could otherwise drastically reduce its value. And the excitement in the market for such coins is further fueled by auction dynamics, where bidding wars can escalate the price as enthusiasts compete to acquire a rare specimen, sometimes far exceeding pre-auction estimates, and these record-setting sales often make headlines, fueling further interest and demand, creating a feedback loop where awareness of high-value sales increases desire and willingness to pay astronomical prices for other coins with similar characteristics. And beyond the traditional minting errors, there are also anomalies that collectors prize, like repunched mint marks, die rotations, and double-struck examples, each adding nuance and uniqueness to the 1976 penny. And while some might think that a 1-cent coin is inherently insignificant, the combination of rarity, error, condition, and historical narrative transforms it into a highly coveted treasure, demonstrating how human fascination with anomalies and rarity can elevate even the most humble objects to extraordinary status. And furthermore, the story of the 1976 penny also includes tales of discovery, where coins were found in rolls, hidden in collections, or unearthed from circulation decades later, often by accident, which adds an element of serendipity to their value, as collectors prize not just the coin itself but the mystery and story of how it survived and emerged into the market. And in some cases, coins with errors might have been discovered in estates, old banks, or forgotten safes, suddenly turning a mundane penny into a multimillion-dollar artifact, demonstrating the unpredictability and thrill of coin collecting. And the social aspect cannot be ignored either, as owning such a rare coin becomes a status symbol within the numismatic community, a badge of dedication, knowledge, and luck. And this human element drives prices even higher because collectors are willing to pay premiums to acquire something that few others possess, reinforcing the extreme valuation. And there's also the academic interest. Next. Today, we are diving into an incredible story from the world of coin collecting, a tale so fascinating that it has captured the attention of numismatists, investors, and casual collectors alike. We are talking about the 1995 D1 cent, a coin that, at first glance, may seem ordinary, just a small copper penny minted in Denver in 1995. Yet this coin carries a mystique and rarity that has elevated its value to a staggering $14 million, all because of certain errors, mistakes, and unusual characteristics that make it one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatics. Now, you might wonder what could possibly make a 1995 D penny which you might pass by in your pocket or find in loose change, worth millions of dollars, and that is exactly what we are about to explore. The story begins with the minting process at the Denver Mint, where millions of pennies were produced every day using high-speed presses, dies that were carefully engraved, and strict quality control measures intended to ensure uniformity and perfection. Yet even in this highly controlled environment, mistakes can and do happen, and when they occur in rare forms, they create coins of exceptional value. For the 1995 D1 cent, there are multiple error types that have contributed to its astronomical valuation. First, there are the infamous die cracks and die breaks, which occur when the metal dies used to strike coins begin to fatigue and develop tiny fractures. These fractures then appear on the coin itself as raised lines, sometimes running through Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions on the coin. Collectors highly prize these anomalies because they are entirely unique to a particular die and a particular minting run, meaning no two die cracks are exactly alike. In some instances, the 1995 D penny has exhibited particularly prominent die cracks, some running from the rim across Lincoln's bust and even into the date, creating what numismatists call spider cracks, which are visually striking and extremely rare. Another category of errors involves double strikes or doubling, often referred to as double dies, where the coin receives more than one impression from the die, either partially or fully misaligned, resulting in letters, numbers, or features appearing doubled. In the case of the 1995 D1 cent, there have been documented examples where the date, the word Liberty, or even parts of Lincoln's profile show subtle or pronounced doubling, creating a visual anomaly that appeals to both aesthetic appreciation and rarity-driven valuation. Beyond die-related errors, there are also off-center strikes, a scenario in which the planchet, the blank metal disc that eventually becomes the coin, is misaligned when it is struck. Off-center strikes can range from a slight misalignment where part of the rim is missing to dramatic misalignments where a significant portion of the design is missing entirely, giving the coin a distinctive and instantly recognizable appearance. The 1995 D penny has been recorded in off-center varieties with a centering of over 50%, making them extremely rare, as most coins struck this way are destroyed or fail to leave the mint. Then there are planchet errors, which include clip planchets, where a portion of the blank coin is missing due to a misfeed in the cutting process, or lamination errors, where the metal itself peels or flakes due to impurities or improper alloy composition. Collectors have found 1995 D pennies with small but noticeable lamination errors, which can sometimes run across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse wheat or shield design, making them highly desirable. One of the most intriguing errors associated with this coin is the rare rotational error, where the planchet is rotated relative to the die during striking, resulting in the obverse and reverse being misaligned by significant degrees. This type of error is especially appealing to collectors because it is visually dramatic and extremely uncommon, meaning the market for such coins is highly competitive. Moreover, the 1995 D penny is a prime candidate for being a high-grade error coin, meaning that in addition to these mistakes, the coin may retain almost perfect mint condition, showing minimal wear and full luster, which exponentially increases its value. Coins graded MS 65 or higher by professional grading services such as PCGS or NGC, especially those that combine multiple error types, command some of the highest prices in the market, with some examples of the 1995 D1 cent reaching the extraordinary $14 million mark. Beyond the physical errors themselves, the story of rarity and collectability is amplified by the limited number of verified examples in circulation. While millions of 1995 D pennies were produced overall, only a handful have surfaced with the combination of errors and pristine preservation that defines this coin's extreme value. This scarcity creates a sense of urgency among collectors, driving competitive bidding and record-breaking sales at auctions. The historical context also adds layers of fascination. The mid-1990s were a period of high mint productivity, yet with the aging dies at the Denver Mint, the probability of subtle errors increased. Coin collectors and investors had begun paying closer attention to minor anomalies, understanding that even coins produced in large quantities could become extremely valuable if the right mistake occurred in a controlled batch. For the 1995 D1 cent, it is precisely this convergence of high-quality minting, subtle yet collectible errors, and limited surviving specimens that creates its extraordinary value. Even beyond the mechanical errors, there is an allure of possibility, speculation that other undiscovered error types may exist in private collections or hidden among circulated coins adds a layer of excitement and mystique. Many collectors have spent years searching through rolls of pennies from 1995 D, hoping to uncover a coin with a significant error or a combination of errors that could rival the currently known examples in value. The excitement is amplified by the fact that each new discovery has the potential to rewrite market expectations, as happened in prior decades when coins initially thought to be common were later identified as rare errors and sold for record-breaking prices. Furthermore, the 1995 D1 cent serves as a case study in the broader phenomenon of numismatic speculation, where the interplay between scarcity, error type, condition, and market perception drives values to levels far beyond the intrinsic metal content. A typical 1-cent coin might be worth a fraction of a cent in copper, yet the right error in the right condition transforms it into $1 million artifact. The psychological and economic forces at play include not just rarity, but also collector desire, auction dynamics, provenance, and certification by trusted grading services. Coins with documented histories, previous ownership by famous collectors, or inclusion in prestigious collections see their value enhanced even further. In addition, the 1995 D penny embodies the thrill of discovery, as collectors must carefully examine each coin for minute anomalies, and even a tiny variation in strike or a slight die crack can spell the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth millions. In some instances, photo grading, ultraviolet light inspection, and magnification are employed to detect details invisible to the naked eye, reinforcing the idea that expertise and meticulous attention to detail are essential in identifying coins of this caliber. The market for such coins is also shaped by media coverage, auction reports, and expert analyses, which can fuel collector frenzy and increase realized sale prices dramatically. Additionally, the cultural fascination with coins as both historical artifacts and investment vehicles contributes to the mystique of the 1995 D penny. Lincoln's image, the symbolism of the penny as the nation's smallest denomination, and the association with American history combine with the rarity and uniqueness of errors to create a coin that is not merely currency but an object of art, intrigue, and financial speculation. The fact that a 1995 D1 cent can achieve a $14 million valuation underscores the power of the numismatic market and the ways in which human interest, rarity, and imperfection intersect to create extraordinary outcomes. Last. Today, because we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics, the story of the 2005 D1 cent coin, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance but has captured the imagination of collectors around the world due to its rare errors and remarkable potential value, with some specimens rumored to be worth as much as $9 million under the right circumstances. The 2005 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint, is part of the Lincoln cent series that has been circulating since 1909, and while the vast majority of these coins are perfectly ordinary, certain mistakes during the minting process have transformed a handful of them into highly sought-after collectibles, making them objects of intense scrutiny, speculation, and desire among collectors and investors alike, and the story begins with an understanding of what makes any coin valuable in the first place, which is largely driven by a combination of rarity, demand, condition, and historical or numismatic significance, and in the case of the 2005 D1 cent, it is primarily the errors and mistakes that have rendered a few examples exceptionally valuable, with even minor variations being able to generate enormous interest because collectors are constantly on the lookout for anomalies that might distinguish an otherwise common coin from one that is potentially worth millions. One of the most significant factors that contributes to the value of the 2005 D1 cent is its die errors, which can occur during the production process when the metal dies used to strike the coin are flawed, misaligned, or damaged, leading to coins that exhibit unusual characteristics such as doubled images, missing elements, off-center strikes, repunchment marks, or other distortions that are immediately apparent to experienced eyes and are documented meticulously in error catalogs and numismatic references. Among these, the most famous for the 2005 D cent is the double die obverse error, where the image of President Abraham Lincoln's profile, the lettering, or the date itself appears to be doubled due to the die having been impressed twice in slightly different positions during the minting process, resulting in an unmistakable shadow-like duplication that draws the attention of collectors because double die errors are historically some of the most valuable and dramatic anomalies in United States coinage, often transforming a coin from mere cents in face value to thousands or even millions in market value depending on rarity, preservation, and visibility of the error. Another key element that has driven the extreme value potential of this coin is the presence of off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank, or planchet, does not sit perfectly centered within the coin press during striking, causing portions of the design to be missing or incomplete. These off-center strikes can range from barely noticeable to extremely pronounced, and in the case of the 2005 D1 cent, examples with severe misalignment have been found to command extraordinary attention because they are visually striking, mechanically fascinating, and exceedingly rare, with the combination of a Denver Mint production origin and the specific errors associated with this year's die setup producing a unique set of characteristics that collectors often describe as a once-in-a-lifetime find. And it is this rarity and uniqueness that underpins the high-end valuation estimates that reach into the millions for certain specimens. In addition to doubling and off-center strikes, repunchment marks are another error type that is relevant to the 2005 D penny, particularly the D mint mark representing Denver, which can appear as though it has been stamped twice or slightly shifted from its intended position, leaving a ghost-like impression adjacent to the primary mark. This kind of error is highly collectible because it is a clear marker of a minting anomaly, easy to authenticate by experts, and relatively rare, making it a desirable addition to a serious collection, and when combined with other features such as a strong strike, original luster, and uncirculated condition, these coins can easily command six-figure or even seven-figure prices at auction or in private sales, with demand far exceeding supply because only a tiny fraction of the millions of pennies struck each year carry these anomalies. Surface anomalies are another aspect of what makes the 2005 D penny extraordinary, as variations in die wear, planchet preparation, or striking pressure can lead to imperfections such as die cracks, die clashes, or planchet laminations, each of which is meticulously catalogued by collectors because they provide tangible evidence of the coin's unique journey through the minting process. Die cracks appear as raised lines on the coin's surface where the die has developed a fracture and imparted that irregularity onto the metal, often in patterns that are visually distinctive and sometimes artistically interesting, while die clashes result from the obverse and reverse dies striking each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions of the opposite design faintly etched onto the coin, and planchet laminations occur when the metal of the blank is imperfectly mixed, causing a thin layer of copper to peel or flake off, all of which can combine to create a coin that is highly unusual and immediately recognizable to trained eyes, further increasing its numismatic value. Condition plays an equally important role in establishing the extraordinary worth of a 2005 D1 cent with errors because collectors value coins that have survived in pristine or near pristine condition without post-mint damage, wear, or cleaning, which can significantly diminish value, and in the case of errors, this principle is amplified because the rarity alone does not guarantee value. The coin must be well preserved to command top-tier prices, and grading services such as PCGS and NGC provide certification that a coin's authenticity and condition have been verified, adding confidence for buyers and often causing the price to skyrocket for certified examples with strong grades and documented errors, especially if the error is dramatic, clearly visible, and historically significant. Beyond the physical characteristics, there is also the element of storytelling and intrigue that surrounds the 2005 D1 cent, because numismatics is not just about metal and minting, it's about history, chance, and the stories embedded in everyday objects, and when collectors uncover a coin with an extraordinary error, it is as though they have found a hidden piece of history that slipped through the vast, highly regimented machinery of the United States Mint, creating a sense of mystery and excitement that further elevates the perceived value and demand, as collectors are willing to pay a premium to own a tangible connection to the minting process and to a rare event that defied the strict quality control standards of one of the world's most prolific mints. Market dynamics also play a crucial role in explaining why certain 2005 D1 cent coins have been rumored to reach valuations in the vicinity of $9 million, because the numismatic marketplace is highly sensitive to rarity, demand, publicity, and buyer psychology, and when a coin is documented as an extraordinary error and gains media attention or is featured in coin reference books, online forums, and collector networks, interest can surge dramatically, with private collectors and investors competing to secure the limited examples available, often resulting in bidding wars that drive prices far beyond what might be expected for ordinary coins, and this speculative aspect, combined with the verified rarity of the errors, creates a situation where a single coin can achieve an astronomical valuation, reflecting not just its intrinsic metal value but its symbolic status as a rare and desirable collectible. The 2005 D1 cent story also intersects with educational and reference opportunities, as collectors and numismatic enthusiasts study it to understand minting processes, error formation, and the evolution of quality control at the Denver Mint, which was particularly interesting in the early 2000s due to upgrades in machinery, die preparation, and production methods, all of which make any surviving anomaly even more remarkable. The coin is therefore not just a collectible but a teaching tool and a historical artifact, demonstrating how even a highly industrialized, carefully monitored process can occasionally produce unpredictable results, and how those results can, over time, gain legendary status among collectors who understand the nuances of die varieties, mint marks, misalignments, and other technicalities that define the coin's uniqueness.